One little van used to subtly become a part of everyday life in Britain. It transported electricians' tools through small neighborhoods, delivered bread before dawn, and even functioned as a traveling home for families seeking independence on the open road. However, beneath its unassuming exterior lay a tale that few people actually knew. The Bedford CA was rarely the center of attention, never quick, and never flashy. However, it became one of the most recognizable working cars in Britain for over 20 years. Oddly enough, the more you delve into its past, the more unexpected facts start to emerge. Because although the Bedford CA is remembered by millions as a modest workhorse, its history reveals something much more fascinating. When it arrived, Britain was still recovering from the Second World War's damage. There was tremendous pressure on industry to create useful automobiles that could aid in reviving the economy. Companies required reasonably priced transportation. Reliable vans were essential for tradespeople. Additionally, in a market that was recovering, manufacturers wanted machinery that could be produced fast and supplied at a low cost. In the early 1960s, General Motors' Bedford division introduced the CA in this setting. Although the company had prior expertise producing commercial vehicles, the CA was created to address a particular need. Small businesses were prevalent, fuel was costly, and Britain's streets were tiny. The nation needed a van that was small, easy to use, and strong enough to withstand daily abuse. The CA appeared to be nearly normal at first glance. It had a friendly but somewhat humble appearance thanks to its boxy shape, short wheels, and rounded front end. It appeared almost fragile in comparison to the larger vans of the time. However, that simplicity was deliberate. Engineers concentrated on making the car simple to construct and maintain, something small enterprises sorely required. The Bedford CA's lightweight design and simple mechanical architecture are two of its lesser-known engineering choices. The van had a tiny petrol engine that put dependability above power and a straightforward rear-wheel drive system. The engine was little by today's standards, but when properly maintained, it was dependable, simple to fix, and remarkably long-lasting. The vehicle's ability to strike a balance between usable area and compact size was another ingenious feature. The CA had sufficient cargo capacity for service providers, delivery drivers, and craftsmen despite its compact size. It became the ideal balance between practicality and flexibility for thousands of small enterprises. It could carry all the necessities for a day's work while maneuvering through congested streets. However, the Bedford CA's sliding front doors were arguably its most notable feature. When most vans had conventional hinged doors, Bedford engineers opted for a sliding design that made it possible for drivers to enter and exit the vehicle rapidly while making deliveries. This minor design decision greatly simplified daily tasks for city tradespeople, postal workers, and milk delivery drivers. Nevertheless, the CA had flaws despite these well-considered concepts. In fact, the early model's vacuum-powered windscreen wipers were one of the most talked-about peculiarities among drivers. The wipers were powered by engine vacuum rather than an electric motor. As a result, drivers had to become used to the strange behavior. The wipers may slow down when accelerating quickly. They may accelerate abruptly when they release the throttle. Although it was an odd design, it represented the cost-cutting technical choices typical of post-war automobiles. Performance-related complaints were also made. Because of its small engine, the CA was never intended to be fast, especially when it was heavily loaded. Drivers' patience may be tested on lengthy freeway ascents, and maintaining momentum necessitated cautious gear changes. However, performance was never the first objective for the majority of owners. Affordability and dependability were significantly more important, and in spite of these drawbacks, the Bedford CA gradually assimilated into British society. Every day, builders, plumbers, and electricians depended on it. They were dispatched by bakeries to deliver fresh bread before daybreak. They served as mobile workshops for small repair companies. The vehicle served as much more than simply a job tool for numerous families. During a time when Britain was rebuilding its economy, it served as a symbol of independence and self-employment. Beyond commercial work, the CA discovered an unanticipated second life. Companies that specialize in camper conversion started converting small vans into small RVs. During a period when overseas vacations were still considered a luxury for many, the Bedford CA's raised roof, compact sleeping compartment, and simple cooking equipment allowed families to explore the countryside. During the 1960s and 1970s, when road travel and outdoor adventure were becoming more and more popular, these camper conversions became very popular. A simple van that used to deliver groceries may all of a sudden become a family's entryway to summer vacations, national parks, and beach villages. Owners' tales from that era frequently highlight the CA's incredible durability. Many vans ran daily routes for years with little mechanical maintenance other than routine maintenance. This dependability was essential for small enterprises with limited resources. Work could go on without expensive disruptions thanks to a reliable van. Long-time drivers frequently tell tales of delivery routes that wound through small rural communities and winding country roads. The Bedford CA may have to stop numerous times a day, carry large loads, and navigate narrow alleys for hours on end. Nevertheless, it kept operating year after year, evolving from a mere vehicle to something like a reliable friend. However, as the car industry evolved in the late 1970s and early 1980s, the design's shortcomings became apparent. New vans with stronger engines, improved safety measures, and more contemporary designs were starting to arrive. Customers were beginning to demand more performance and comfort. Additionally, rust started to become a bigger issue for older CA samples. Numerous vans that had been exposed to severe weather and road salt for years were gradually destroyed by corrosion, much like many other cars of the era. They were gradually taken out of service as companies switched them out for more modern ones. Changes in the economy also had an impact. While new competitors with more sophisticated designs joined the market, larger firms started updating their fleets. After more than 20 years, the Bedford CA's manufacture finally ended in the early 1980s. Compared to their former prevalence, surviving instances are very rare today. The majority were merely used till the end of their useful lives before being ceremoniously discarded. However, those that survive have a subtle historical importance. Because the Bedford CA was never intended to be a high-end car or a technological marvel. It was intended to accomplish something much more significant. It aided in the expansion of small firms. It helped the craftsmen who kept towns afloat. It also served as a means of subsistence and a doorway to adventure for other families. The history of the Bedford CA is similar to that of post-war Britain in many respects. Constructed with few resources, it was robust, practical, and subtly supported daily living without much need for acknowledgement. Those who remember tend to smile when one shows up at a gathering of vintage cars or takes a leisurely drive through a rural community. It symbolizes a period when basic machines held great responsibility, not because it was the fastest or most sophisticated vehicle ever made. And maybe that's why so many people still remember the Bedford CA. It was never well known for its strength or style, but it evolved into something much more significant, a dependable daily companion. You are always welcome to follow along as we continue to explore the history of the machines that subtly influenced ordinary transportation if you love learning about the little-known tales behind vehicles like this one.